The dense, mist-shrouded jungles and sweeping highlands of Madagascar have borne witness to countless sagas of ambition, conquest, and survival, yet none have left so indelible a mark of terror as the 33-year reign of Queen Ranavalona I, from 1828 to 1861. This iron-fisted sovereign transformed the island kingdom into a realm where paranoia festered in every shadow, and the spectre of death loomed over all who dared question her authority. Her ascent to power was not one of noble birthright alone, but a masterclass in ruthless political maneuvering, forged in the crucible of a court where betrayal was currency and survival demanded merciless resolve. Born Ranavalona in 1788, she was the daughter of a minor noble whose loyalty to the great unifier King Andrian Marina secured her an unlikely place within the royal household. Yet this apparent honor was no act of benevolence. It was a calculated move in the ceaseless chess game of Marina politics. Married to Crown Prince Radama as one of his 12 wives, she occupied a precarious position in a court where favor was fleeting and the penalty for failure was often death. The execution of her relatives under Radama's orders seared into her a bitterness that would fester, hardening her heart and sharpening her instincts for vengeance. When Radama died suddenly in 1828, rumored by some to have been poisoned, the kingdom teetered on the brink of upheaval. By tradition, the crown should have passed to his nephew, Rakotob, a progressive, minded heir who represented continuity with Radama's reforms. But Ranavalona, having spent years observing the lethal dance of power, was prepared. With chilling precision, she rallied the conservative nobility, military elites, and traditionalist priests, all of whom feared the erosion of their influence under Radama's modernization. What followed was a coup executed with brutal efficiency. The royal armory was seized within hours. Rakotobi and his entire family were butchered, their mutilated remains displayed as a grim proclamation of the new order. The sacred Fandrina coronation, traditionally a ceremony of renewal, was instead drenched in blood, with sacrificial bulls slaughtered with unprecedented ferocity, a portent of the reign to come. Once enthroned, Ranavalona did not rule through mere brutality, but through a meticulously engineered system of terror designed to crush dissent before it could take root. The best tangina ordeal, an ancient judicial practice, became her favored instrument of control. Accused traitors, suspected witches, or simply those who had drawn the queen's ire were forced to ingest poison extracted from the lethal tangina nut. Survival depended on vomiting the toxin, a verdict of innocence, while failure meant an excruciating death. Contemporary missionaries and foreign envoys recounted villages left half empty by these trials, with estimates suggesting between 50,000 and 100,000 perished. Yet the ordeal was no impartial divine judgment. Its outcomes were often predetermined by bribes or political machinations, rendering it little more than state-sanctioned murder. Yet executions alone could not sustain her dominion. The Fanampina system, a traditional labor obligation, was warped into a mechanism of mass enslavement. Entire communities were uprooted and pressed into ceaseless toil, constructing the colossal Manjakamiadana Palace, expanding irrigation networks, and carving roads through the unforgiving terrain. Many of these laborers vanished into unmarked graves, their bones interred beneath the very monuments meant to glorify Ranavalona's reign. The economic consequences were catastrophic. Fields lay fallow as farmers were dragged to labor camps, and the once thriving cattle trade, a cornerstone of Madagascar's wealth, withered into insignificance. Nor was her wrath reserved for political enemies alone. Christianity, which had gained tentative footing under Radama's tolerance, was now a capital offense. In 1835, Ranavalona issued a sweeping edict outlawing the faith, unleashing one of the most savage religious persecutions in African history. Converts were subjected to grotesque tortures, forced to defile their beliefs by consuming taboo meats, crushed beneath rocks, or hurled from cliffs. Bibles were consigned to flames, churches reduced to rubble, and those who clung to their faith were left to rot in pits or flayed alive in public squares. This was not merely religious suppression, it was a purge of foreign influence, a means to extinguish any spark of dissent that might challenge her absolutism. Yet Ranavalona was no mindless isolationist. Her policies revealed a ruler acutely aware of the geopolitical currents swirling beyond Madagascar's shores. She permitted cautious trade with American and French merchants, negotiated treaties with European powers, and even tolerated a small French garrison at Fort Dauphin, so long as their presence served her interests. These were not concessions, but calculated gambits to preserve her sovereignty while keeping colonial ambitions at bay. As decades passed, her paranoia metastasized into ever more erratic decrees. The color purple was banned, suspected of harboring treasonous symbolism. Rhinoceroses were hunted to near extinction, their horns coveted for imagined mystical properties. The corpses of executed foes were left to bloat in public squares, a macabre warning to any who might question her rule. Even her most trusted advisors lived in perpetual dread, knowing that today's confidant could be tomorrow's sacrifice. When death at last claimed her in 1861, the kingdom exhaled, but liberation proved illusory. Her successor, Ranavalona I, sought to dismantle her legacy, abolishing forced labor and reopening trade. Yet the machinery of Terra Ranavalona had built could not be so easily undone. The nobility revolted, the conservatives resisted, and within 2 years, Ranavalona I was assassinated, proof that the Queen's spectre still gripped Madagascar. Today, the ruins of her grand project stand as monuments to suffering. Oral histories recount her cruelty in hushed tones, while historians grapple with her complex legacy. Was she a tyrant, a product of her era, or a sovereign who preserved Madagascar's independence at a monstrous cost? One truth: Ranavallona's reign is a harrowing testament to the corrupting nature of absolute power, and a reminder that the scars of tyranny linger long after the tyrant has fallen. And so we are left to ponder, how many more such rulers lie entombed in history's shadows, their atrocities waiting to be unearthed? For 33 years, Queen Ranavalona I ruled Madagascar with an iron fist, transforming the kingdom into a land of terror. Rising to power through a bloody coup, she enforced her authority through poison trials, mass enslavement, and brutal religious persecution. Though she maintained Madagascar's independence from European powers, her reign left the island economically crippled and scarred by violence. Even after her death, her legacy of fear endured, proving that the wounds of tyranny outlive the tyrant. Ranavalona's reign serves as a chilling reminder that absolute power corrupts absolutely. Her story warns of the dangers of unchecked authority, where paranoia replaces justice and cruelty becomes law. History teaches us that rulers who rule by fear may secure their thrones, but at the cost of their people's suffering and ultimately their own legacy. True leadership demands not just strength, but wisdom and compassion, for a nation built on terror can never truly prosper. And so we ask, how many more such rulers have shaped history in shadows, their cruelty echoing through time? If you dare to uncover more stories of history's darkest rulers, if the shadows of the past call to you, then join us. Like this video if the horrors of history fascinate you. Share it to challenge what we think we know about power, and subscribe. Because the past is never truly dead,